I do have a few theories in mind as to why there's such hate for the
Mm,
husk of grapes who have gone to hell.
mm.
Would you like to explore them with me?
Yes, please.
The first one, and I do understand that one most, is deceit.
Oh God.
Because if you take a butter tart that you've made at home, so you can make the crust yourself, but you'll be putting it in a muffin tin, which is much deeper than the store bought tart shells,
Mm-hmm.
which means that if you put the quantity of raisins I recommended and then you pour the filling over, you won't see it. So it's the idea that you think you're going to have a smooth, luxurious experience and it's interrupted by raisins.
Yes.
I think as someone who doesn't like things that are named after events rather than what they are, like birthday cake, I can understand that people do not appreciate the deception surrounding a raisin butter tart, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Then there's a second reason is the idea of the raisin as a health food. If you don't know the historical context, then it's just offensive because raisins are actually more something you would snack on a hike or for energy,
Right.
strength. Like it's kind of like bunker food.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that you want bunker food in your butter tart
Probably
because
not.
it's more about like luxury.
Mm-hmm.
Then the last reason would be the textural disruption instead of the addition. It doesn't add any crunch. It adds a bit of mush in an
Mm-hmm.
already smooth but nearly mushy pastry.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you personally have any theories?
Yes, actually. So I like your first one, the deceit,
Yeah.
because it makes so much sense. When I think about raisins, all I can think about is raisin oatmeal cookies and how
Hmm.
when I was younger, every time I saw a raisin cookie,
Interesting.
without knowing they were raisins, I always thought it was chocolate chip. So imagine being a child biting into a chocolate chip cookie and finding out that it's raisins.
So
Boy,
it's
oh boy, that is so
cumulative
depressing.
childhood trauma affects
Yes.
your perception of raisins in cookies and butter tarts. Actually, yeah. I think that would be it. It's the same thing as that's a really good point. The oatmeal raisin cookies. I hadn't thought about
Hmm.
it that way. Yeah, I think raisins get a bad rap for not being
For
chocolate
not being
chips.
chocolate,
We're
exactly.
really putting the bar high because
Very.
they did not ask to be chocolate. They just wanted to be appreciated for what they are, and
Hmm.
yet we don't.
Hmm.
Now, today we did go all the way to the dark side for everybody, and we did make a couple of raisin tarts. Are you ready to try it?
Yes, I am. Okay, I'm so ready for this.
Okay,
All
something.
right. Cheers.
I'm positively surprised. I don't know. Um, so from the get go, I
Hmm.
do like raisins in butter tarts, but I think I would take back my point about textural disruption because I do think it adds a little bit of chew if they haven't gotten too soft. So I do think I like them. What do you think?
There's a chance that maybe the resoaking of the raisins might have helped
Yeah.
texturally, but um, that's really good. That is really tasty. So I didn't think that the filling itself, just alone, was overly sweet.
Mhm.
And the raisins feel like it adds an extra layer of sweetness, completely different to the filling, but an extra layer in a good way, in my opinion,
I
for my
think,
taste buds.
and
Hmm.
I don't know if you're going to agree with me. In
Hmm.
this case, so I did deviate from the recipe I gave you. I feel very bad for that. But I mixed yellow raisins and regular Thompson raisins
Oh my god, yeah.
because I had both in my pantry and they're going to be there forever. Like
Okay.
I don't know why I bought them. I don't use them. But I think it might be the yellow raisins. I think it adds sweetness, yes, but a little bit of sourness.
Okay.
Like I do think the raisins are a little bit sour and that does amp it up a bit and it does
Hmm.
break through all the sweetness.
Hmm.
So I do think it's to its advantage.
Okay. I definitely don't think I have that on my end. To me, I also agree about the textural addition.
Mhm.
It's weird how I was expecting a. I don't know what I was expecting. I'm not too sure, but it makes it better. I think it makes the butter tart better. So I actually kind
Yeah.
of feel bad for the people that disagree that raisins go on butter tarts because this is really good. I would pay for this.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think maybe if they grew up only having the classic, then they would be bamboozled, like in an oatmeal, like raisin cookie kind of way, when someone else offers them one and they're like, oh no, obviously I personally grew up eating raisins. I think that's maybe where the beef comes from, you know?
Hmm.
So
Maybe there's a chance that people are confusing raisins with dates. Highly doubt it. Highly doubt
I
it.
don't think
But
so.
it just came to my mind because it's like raisins are not that bad. I feel like a lot of people just hate on raisins for no reason. They're really not
They're
that
not
bad.
that bad. They're just a little bit antiquated. But that's okay. So am I. So I will say people have really strong opinions. And in Ontario, the love of people have for butter tart runs deep. But I think it's a very healthy, wholesome, and almost camp love because they do celebrate them really, really well. So in Ontario, there's three major ways to enjoy butter tarts. The first one is the Butter Tart Trail in Wellington County in southwestern Ontario. So it boasts 17 stops, and you get to drive around and discover some really cool variations. So there are some places that have raspberry coconut butter tarts or peach whiskey butter tarts. Then there's another cool thing you can do in Ontario, which is the Butter Tart Tour in Kawarthas, Northumberland. How many stops do you think it has?
If the first one had 17, the other one has to have 30.
So it
31.
has well over 50.
No way.
Yeah, so as of right now, there's over 50 stops on the tour from Kawartha Lakes to Peterborough. So there is finally a reason to go to Peterborough. Now, this is a self guided tour, but there's a full website with a map. So you can do the tour by car, motorcycle, bike, and even both.
I
There's
would do
actually,
this in a heartbeat. Full price. I'll
I'm
pay for anything. I don't care. I would do this.
I'm probably gonna rent a car and actually do it. And then the last option is the one I am definitely do it. I'm definitely doing. I have it on my schedule. I invited you to come. If you're not coming, I'm still going. So since 2013 in Midland, Ontario, about 2 hours from Toronto, there's a butter tart festival. A butter tart fucking festival. It makes me so happy. It's so stupid and nice. So this year, it's going to be June 11, 2022, and there's going to be well over 200 vendors. Now, once again, we are not sponsored. We're just excited. So in 2019, how many visitors do you think the festival had?
2,000.
In 2019, there was over 65,000 people.
Okay.
And then there was 100 to 200,000 tarts that were available to buy. It is so much bigger than we think it is. And it's a small town 2 hours from Toronto. Although I've actually never visited, so it's probably actually really huge. And I'm just dumb.
Mhm.
But it's a huge thing. So the vendors do have every version of the butter tart under the sun. And the festival also has a butter tart making contest, which I'm debating participating in.
Join. Yeah.
I kind of want to do it. And then a butter tart trot, which is so funny. So this is a charity run meant to support Simcoe County youth, and you can participate for any distance you want, from walking the 1 kilometer mini tart trot to running a full half marathon. How do you feel about that?
So my first question that comes to mind is,
Uh huh.
you know how whenever you do I mean, I've never done a marathon, but you know how whenever you see things of people doing marathons, they give out water like at some specific points in the
Uh
marathon.
huh.
Do they give out butter tarts at specific points in the run? Like if I run like a few kilometers, will I be stopped eventually? It's like, sir,
Well,
try
okay,
these
okay.
butter tarts,
If
please.
if we're living the fantasy, I will say I've heard of some runners who are way too invested on TikTok. I don't know why TikTok recommends this to me. They should stop. Like I'm not the demographic, but I know some people who have in their running belt energy goo, like a Yoplait or like a little tube
Okay.
of
Hmm.
like energy that they take, and I'm assuming it's either fat or sugar to just push them through.
Hmm.
So theoretically, they could have butter tart goo and they could
That,
hand it out to people and push them
yeah,
through. But I'm not sure their liver could process it.
probably not.
Although it's a small price to pay. I don't know. So clearly, I'm not the chosen demographic for the butter tart trot, but I am a sucker for a good butter tart. And one of the classics most vendors sell is salted pecan. Now, we have also made that one today. Are you ready to try it?
So ready. Okay.
Okay, I have it here.
Cheers.
Salty.
Okay.
That one
Okay.
is so good. You just keep on eating. It's so good. It makes me so happy. Just like the crunch, the butteriness, the nuttiness, the salt,
The salt. The
the s-
salt makes this. I don't, who would have thought?
like. And to be fair to anyone who's wondering at home who might not look or make the recipe, which is completely okay, the recipe does call for salt inside the mix. But to add some on top at the end makes a world of difference. It is so good.
Huge difference. It
Yeah.
balances the flavors so well. And yes, the crunchiness, dude, it's like it's almost like I took like butter, sugar, and salt and just put it all in my mouth. Well, actually, that's exactly what it is. But
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But it's surprising how balanced it now feels considering how heavy it actually is.
hmm
But to me, that is the perfect classic high end version of a butter tart. Like if you wanted to make a butter tart to impress someone, I would probably just make salted pecan because you're just adding pecans. It's not that much more difficult, and at the end you add a sprinkle of salt. So for me, I did use fancy salt. It is completely unnecessary. You can use regular salt. It's just about getting something on top.
hmm
Now, some people might argue that adding salt takes it out of line. But true butter tart fanatics who will be in Midland, Ontario, June 11th, 2022, know this is just the beginning. So at the festival, the butter tart competition is really big. It divides itself between professional versus home bakers and traditional side style versus wild style. Would you like to hear some of the winning 2019 wild style flavors?
I don't even think I know what wild style means. So yes, I'm very excited to hear.
It means there are no rules. So the traditional might have had pecan, raisins, or just classic with maple syrup.
hmm
Wild style is a little different. So we've had and sweet potato ginger strudel one in the professional wild style. So those are all the ones that won. Then we have Nanaimo. So we also have that one sounds pretty standard. It's
hmm
fruit, nut, and butter rum. So I think
Okay.
it's just breaking down the components and rehashing it, but I do
hmm
appreciate that. Then there's apple crumble. And then there's the one that sounds the wildest is passion fruit mango.
I would murder that.
I don't know when it becomes heresy. I don't know where the line is anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm
Like
gonna be completely honest. I thought you were gonna mention some crazy thing like, yeah, they have some avocado ones, and I was so ready. Like I was mentally preparing
you want
myself for some crazy. No, no, no. It's not. I'm not saying I do. I was mentally preparing myself for some crazy ingredient. We've tried some crazy stuff on this podcast before, like that Don Air sauce. Come on, So to me, at this point, anything goes. Whatever,
yeah,
no judgment.
anything but toilet cleaner. That's fair. But I'm
Yeah.
just for me it's when you're thinking about how to make a butter tart yourself, I'm not sure. Like sweet potato ginger strudel, I can sort of get. But passion fruit mango, I'm wondering when the passion fruit and mango goes into it. Is it a puree? Is it a layer? Is it something on top? Is it a zest? There's no zest in mango. Like I'm very perplexed and I wish I could have the recipe or some pictures to actually just make a mental idea. So maybe I'll hunt down Facebook, see if there's like a nice little Facebook page for all this. Then from reading about the festival and the winning tarts, I realized maybe there are funkier flavors out there. So I did check out a couple of bakeries across Ontario, and I found the Queen's Tarts in Sault Ste. Marie. So they have a ton of tarts that they make with an insane selection of flavors on rotation. Some of the funkiest were, and that one I want to devour, sea salt and dark chocolate.
Let's go. Okay.
Then there's one that I think you would love, which is whiskey maple bacon.
You already know. Oh
I
my
just know
god.
you would
Yes,
crush it.
I would.
And then there's one I feel like is pretty somehow unusual but also classic. So it's mint cookies and cream.
I I
Uh,
love that.
y-
I love that flavor. So
yeah,
I
you
would also
can.
murder that.
I mean, I feel like you're gonna eat everything. Now, the two that are most out there, there's chai latte, but then there's also margarita.
That doesn't
I
sound that appealing.
I don't know how it happened, but
I
I
don't
kind of
either.
want to see it. So that
Yeah.
one is quite a ways from Toronto, but I think I might make the drive and just get a huge box and bring it like to a party with a bunch of friends and just be like, I need to know what you think. I need to know I'm not the only person that was through that hazardous fever dream, you know?
Yes.
So I think if you come to Toronto, we'll rent a car, we'll
And
waste
then
two
try,
days,
yeah.
and we'll just go get those.
Go
Because I
get
want to
butter
try
tarts.
a margarita butter tart.
So do I, because that doesn't sound doable. That just sounds so weird.
But they also made like a bunch of different cocktails into butter tart. So I think one of them as well was pina colada.
That one's okay. Actually, I can see that one. But yeah, yeah.
I'm full of questions. But ultimately, if you personally could make your own original butter tart, what would the flavor be?
So I was thinking about this for a good while because it's really hard for me to come up with. This is the first time I've tried a butter tart. Like today
Mhm.
was my first day, so it's hard for me to picture a specific
Welcome.
flavor, right? A specific flavor that I would want. But while I was making the filling, the consistency of it and the color reminded me of, and I've spoken about this before, arequipe, which is
Hmm.
a caramel that we use in Colombia. Uh, I want to say that it's probably known in other Hispanic Latino countries, but specifically in Colombia, we use this caramel called arequipe. I would use that. I would add it into the filling. I don't think I would use it as a filling, but I would add
Hmm.
it into the filling mix. And I think if I also added salt on top of that, like it'd be like a salted caramel, but
Ooh.
arequipe has
Yeah.
it has a very distinct flavor. Like you can tell the
Okay.
difference. So I would choose that. I think that would be a fantastic choice.
I would crush that in a moment. And then, so for me, I originally didn't write that question, but then I spent so much time thinking about baking all week that
Mm,
my answer came to be. So I have a friend who very kindly makes me Greek pastries throughout the year, and I'm
okay.
trying to repay the favor by
Mm,
making a nice pastry. And I don't want it to be Greek 100% because I'm going to get destroyed, but I do want it to have some inspiration. So this week I thought of a Greek style butter tart where the maple syrup, so there would still be brown sugar, but the maple syrup would be replaced with honey.
okay.
The vanilla extract, although that's completely optional, but I would remove that and I would replace it with orange or rose extract. And then I would put at the bottom pistachios,
That sounds bomb. That sounds really good.
like a honey pistachio, like a honey rose pistachio butter tart.
That sounds fantastic, actually.
I would crush it.
I
So
would
I
too.
actually in my home, I'm very lucky for Christmas. I got honey rose orange, no, rose orange honey essentially, and I'm probably gonna use it and make them and crush them. It's gonna make me very happy.
You know, that reminds actually, I should have stopped at there's a little anecdote. There's a store or a little like restaurant window, I don't know what to call it. A little vendor
Hmm.
at one of the malls here that sells a Colombian dessert actually filled with that arequipe filling that I was talking about.
Hmm.
I don't know if they sell it by itself, just the filling, but I'm actually now thinking I should go buy it, remake these, and see what it tastes like because I'm really curious
Yes,
about this, like
because I think
extremely.
it's like any good recipe. Once you understand the purpose of an ingredient, you can swap it with something else to make it yours.
Hmm.
And I think clearly, butter tarts are versatile. So
I've always wanted to have like my own little. like restaurant, I guess you could say.
Yeah, the right
I'm
way.
not yeah, I'm not a chef. I'm not trained. I've never
Mhm,
gone to
that's
school
okay.
for it. I just really like it. I love cooking. I love food. And I've always wanted to, it sounds weird. I've always wanted to sell tacos from my
Okay.
balcony. From my balcony.
Um,
Tacos, pizza, I don't
hold
care.
on, what floor?
We're on the second floor. It would
Okay.
be I would have to buy some sort of pulley system and just kind of like,
Okay.
bring them down to people. Or they could come to my door, whatever. I've always been inspired by that idea. I've seen there's a story of a Colombian woman living in New York that sells Colombian-based food. Like it's Colombian inspired. It's a lot of
Mhm.
Colombian food, but she kind of adds her like own twist into it, and she sells it from her window in her apartment in New York.
Okay.
And that inspired me so much to want to try to do this one day. I don't know how. I just would love to do it. And so now I'm thinking, okay, because I've tested some tacos, some taco recipes
Mhm.
with Lisa, because I'm thinking if I were to sell this in Quebec, it has to have some of my own stuff, but it also has
Mhm.
to appeal to the
Yeah.
population here,
Yeah.
and so I was thinking, oh man, it would be great if I could make these tacos, sell it to people here in the balcony, at the door, whatever, and for dessert, butter tarts filled with arequipe. It adds the Colombian touch, and
That
it's
would be
inspired
so
here
good.
by Canadian food. And in my head, I'm thinking now, oh my god, I feel like I would have a better shot now if I were to do this.
So, okay, can I add something to your taco business? But mine is
Yes.
going to be heresy. But if
Hmm.
you want a French Canadian twist, you could do hot chicken tacos. Have you ever
Hmm.
had hot
I
chicken?
have had hot chicken. Yes, it's
So,
actually really good.
yeah, to describe it to people who don't know what it is, because the name means nothing. It's essentially two slices of basic white bread. Think Wonder Bread. Then in the middle, you're gonna have pulled chicken. On top of this weird little sandwich, you're gonna have just regular green peas, and you'll top off everything with gravy. So
Hmm.
you could do some really godforsaken tacos where you just take regular corn or flour tortillas, and then you would put pulled chicken, peas, and gravy. I'm
Hmm.
not saying it would be good. I'm
That's
saying
a,
people would come.
it might not sell, but at least I get
Yeah.
customers. Actually, that's a good idea. And the good thing about that is because, like I've said before, I want to incorporate my own culture, my own background
Mm.
into, if I were to ever sell something, into whatever I'm selling, into my cooking. And it would be great if I somehow found a way to combine the hot chicken flavor with something else, even if it's just one spice. I don't care. Um, and now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I could make the gravy in a specific different way, or
Oh, absolutely.
I could like mush the green peas into, I don't know. I'm thinking. I'm literally brainstorming as I go, but that would be a great idea. I
Oh,
would actually do that.
you could actually just say it's hot chicken and then mess with the sauce in any way you want. Make it thinner, make it less rich, put more spice. That would not be a problem. As
Hmm.
long as, you know, you allow people to connect both by seeing
Hmm.
the roots of each,
Hmm.
people will make the connection and understand the innovation that comes from it. So that
Right.
would not be an issue. Also, I think if you walk further away from the hot chicken and closer to your roots, you'll probably have something that tastes better. Because the more I think about it, the more like the original that I
It sounds
proposed to you
weird.
sounds so bad, so bad. But that's okay.
But I'd be willing to try it, and I think that's like the beauty of these things. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
this we're getting really off topic here, real quick. I think the hardest part for me, if I were to ever do this from my house,
Uh huh.
is advertising, or how do I get customers? Because I can make
Oh,
this, I can
I
prep
can
everything, and I
tell
can do
you.
all this. No, I was thinking about. Sounds weird. Sounds very weird, but I've seen
Oh
people
boy.
do this. I was thinking Facebook Marketplace.
No,
Sounds weird.
dude.
Sounds weird. I know, but
Okay.
I've seen
Um.
this. People do
Okay.
this, and it's a real thing.
I need to save you from your misery. Dude, just
Craigslist.
make it. No. Oh my god, you're gonna get killed so fast. You just need to make it a ghost kitchen on Uber Eats.
Do I need like licensing for that stuff? How do I do that?
You need to make sure that your like lease allows you to run a business from home, and then maybe you need a
Hmm.
license, but it's not that complicated, and you don't get murdered on Craigslist. Also, I don't think there's a Craigslist in Quebec. There's like Kijiji.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know that.
But you'll still get killed in the middle of Levy. Like, there's
Okay.
no way out.
I mean,
But
if it's not happening in Lévis, it's gonna happen in Montreal. So
yeah,
I'll figure something out. Thanks for the
you'll
heads up.
you'll get your window restaurant in Oslaga, no problem.
Someday, eventually, we'll figure it out. We'll see what happens.
Oh yeah. Now, as we can see, though, regardless of how restrictive the world of butter tarts seems to be, there are plenty of talented bakers out there ready to blow it wide open. Now, I think whatever you and I have thought of today may have been thought of before because it seems like a bunch of local spots already broke the glass ceiling for us.
Hmm.
Although I think there's a chance our ideas are original, but I don't have that much faith because Ontario is really creative. But
Hmm.
I know there are a few desserts out there like butter tart ice cream or butter tart cheesecake. And I think there's an opportunity for us to innovate there. So if you could make a butter tart into another dessert, what would it be?
Well, I was thinking butter tart ice cream because, of course, that's the most unoriginal thing for anybody to think about.
No, that's
Um,
good. That would be tasty though, with a little crumble on top.
yes, but now, how about this? So, ice cream sounds great, cool. How about I make it into an ice cream sandwich, and then I kind of make it into a crumble, and I just, how the ice cream layer of the sandwich is ice cream, obviously. I crumble up the butter tart, and I just kind of dip it and just kind of rotate it, and the whole outside is just covered in butter tart crumble. You know
That
what I
would
mean?
be interesting. Or there was a place in Toronto that I went to. I showed you this. Craig's Cookies. They put a whole butter tart inside a cookie. And then
Well,
those crazy people just baked it. And then I ate it. And it
I
was
mean,
good.
who wouldn't?
But but I think one thing you could do as well is if you could figure out how to really, really freeze a butter tart or maybe make the crust really tough. You could do something like instead of uh, mini pieces of chocolate, you could do tiny, teeny butter tarts in the ice cream. And then you scoop it and you see the tiny little tarts. I don't
That's
know if that
a
makes
great
sense.
surprise. It makes perfect sense. I'm visualizing exactly what you're saying. That would be a
I feel
fantastic
like it's
surprise.
a Willy Wonka thing that doesn't actually exist, and the real thing would have to like taste like plastic.
Yeah.
But I hope one day we can make it happen.
You ever seen those? It's on TikTok. It's
Oh boy.
the slime. It's like that.
Oh, oh
There's a
no.
company that makes like very creative. I know it sounds weird. It's a company that makes very like creative slime where
Mhm.
it doesn't look like the regular stuff that kids go crazy for, but it looks like ice cream or like a taffy,
Okay.
and they add like little things in the slime.
Yeah.
So imagine your idea, but it's slime. It's not really edible. That's what I'm picturing. Because I've seen one where they make like a rainbow one or something, and I think there's like little miniature unicorns in the slime, and like
Uh-huh.
and sprinkles, and they roll it around and whatnot, and then you just kind of whip it out, and it's just a bunch of little things on there, and it looks delicious, but I don't think that's edible,
So
but it
your
looks delicious.
idea would be to create another Tide Pod crisis, but with slime.
Yeah,
Is that it?
yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
I think it would go viral. I think we could monetize it, and then I think we'd have to answer to the Supreme Court.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I'm okay with that because I would
we're
be
we're
winning.
intox we're intoxicating, is that the word? Little children.
I don't know, but I'm sure it qualifies as murder.
Sure, yeah. I think so too.
I don't. I'm pretty sure it would be very risky. I already feel like hasn't that company gotten sued? Like, wouldn't they have to put a disclaimer?
I have no idea because
Okay,
they definitely should, and I'm assuming they did because even though I know it's not edible, I
there's
would
a part
eat
of me
that.
that wants to eat it.
Either
Yeah.
yes, it's the intrusive thoughts just taking over, and it's like you can't eat this, but maybe you can, and I would definitely let those win. I would eat the heck out of that slime.
Yeah, you wouldn't make it past 2 episodes on Survivor, that's
Oh
for
no,
sure.
definitely not. Probably just like the first 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, 100%. Now, my dessert, unfortunately, it's edible. But I'm not sure if it works as well as I thought of in my head, but it would basically be a standard, really moist carrot cake with raisins, walnuts, and then a butter tart coulis on top to make it even richer.
That sounds fantastic.
I feel like that would be insane. Or you could even
Hmm.
do the classic carrot cake with the cheesecake frosting on top. And I
Hmm.
hate when I buy it from like a grocery store. It makes me sound bougie, but they use powdered sugar mostly and no cream cheese. I
Hmm.
want the homemade one with too much cream cheese and then a middle layer with butter tart coulis. Essentially, what I'm gonna do in the future is I'm just gonna make a thick butter tart syrup, cut it coulis, and charge people $12 for a bottle.
I
And I'm gonna sell it at the St. Lawrence Market, and you're gonna come and you're gonna buy it.
I would buy it in a
Yeah,
heartbeat because it
uh,
sounds delicious.
it would be so tasty. And then you could put that on sundaes. You could put that on your ice cream. You can put that in your mouth. It's perfect.
Put it on tacos.
Put
No,
it
no
on
way.
hot chicken.
Hot chicken, yeah. Oh God.
That would be such a treat. But yeah, I think that would be my little concoction. Now, unfortunately, we have come to the end of the butter tart trail. So, out of every butter tart we had today, which one was your favorite?
Raisin salted pecan, without a doubt, hands down, fantastic. That was so good.
Yeah, I think I like the salted pecan one best, but for me, anytime there's nuts in a recipe, that's what I'm gonna go for because I'm a big crunch person. Now, I thought this was a really cool episode because it really spoke to the wholesome and proud nature of Canadians. I think the butter tart, in and out of itself, shows the country's really complex and a little bit muddy roots, but also shows its hyper local pride and love and its desire to not take itself too seriously. I mean, what kind of country would have a butter tart festival with something called a butter tart trot?
Right. I
It's
mean,
just,
yeah, I think this was, in my opinion, this was a really fun episode. I had a lot of fun making this one. Definitely, I'm not saying I didn't have fun making the bagels, but dear God, that was
easier.
torture.
Yeah, this is
This
much easier.
was really fun to do. It really tasty. I think if you don't have baking experience in general, this will make you feel like a professional baker, even though
Yeah, a
you did
professional baker.
nothing.
Yeah.
You know, all you did is just kind of whisk some ingredients together and just pour it into a pre-made um, tart shell. But it makes you feel accomplished. Like I felt so good
Yes.
making this, and the fact that it tasted good, uh, I don't know. I felt professional. It felt
No, I
great,
know.
and
I know exactly what you mean. I actually sent pictures to a bunch of people because I can work my way around a piping bag. However, I
hmm
don't love baking because I'm not very patient and I'm not dainty.
hmm
I'm kind of the bulldozer of baking.
hmm
So, like, I'll make a thick cake, but I won't make macaron. So, when I saw basically when you pre uh, bake the crust and it comes out, because you bought it in the store, it's perfectly dented, perfectly made, and then you just have to
hmm
make sure you don't put too much filling in.
Right, right.
And then all you do is bake it, and it comes out perfectly even with this beautiful crunchy topping or this little salt on top. It does feel fully professional, which is
Actually,
cool.
yeah. When I first took it out of the oven the first time when you bake it at 425, um, I thought I accidentally put too much because I saw it rising. It
Yeah,
looked like a
rising.
souffle.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, "Oh my god, no!" But it wasn't. It actually wasn't bad. I think the temperature was spot on because
Yeah.
it rose up, but then it like look at this. Like it rose up, but then it kind of stayed even. It didn't really
Yes.
deflate into
So
it.
it's
And
because when you're whisking, you're incorporating air. As long as you're not whisking with a machine,
hmm
you'll have just enough air that during the bake, it'll rise up and make a bubble. And then once it's sufficiently cooked, it'll cool down and caramelize.
oh yeah, but besides the whole baking aspect, I feel like this episode made me feel more Canadian than all the other ones in the past. I'm not sure why, but I feel like this really got me culturally invested. I guess you could say
Yeah.
in the history and tradition of it. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. It was great. Good choice. Like
Well, I think the
Great.
power of the butter tart is that anyone from anywhere can make it their own and add to the Canadian landscape. I think that's the strength of it. So yeah, I
Yeah,
get what you
and
mean.
as we've learned, I am now inspired to make my own. So I would definitely do this. But yeah, thank you for listening to the Canadian Food Podcast. We sure hope you liked this episode.
Now, if you liked it, leave a 5-star review online and let us know what you liked and what you truly hated. Do you think raisins belong in butter tarts? What about tequila? Please tell us what you think via email at thecanadianfoodpodcast@hotmail.com. You can also check out our website, thecanadianfoodblog.ca. Now, if you're a Canadian chef and you'd like to overthink a national dish with us for 1 to 3 hours, please hit me up via email so we can set something else. Now, Ricardo, the door is always open. And if you'd like to hear this podcast all over again in French, Le Podcast La Bouffe Canadienne is available now wherever you got this podcast from. Go listen to it. This is your one chance to bond with that loud auntie from Gaspé who doesn't like you. She'll love this podcast.
Come back next week for the final episode of the season. Chips.
Hell yeah. Okay, that's it for this week. Goodbye.
Take care.